Hello and welcome to my coding course to build a simple shopping cart using latest version of React 18 and new features like use transition and use deferred value. You will build a web application like this. It has a header menu and it shows number of items in the cart. In the main section, we have product list and you can click add to cart to add the product to the shopping cart. Also, you can increase and decrease number of items in the cart or remove item from the cart. In the right side, we have shopping basket. It shows the selected items and summary of the shopping cart. We use local storage, so when you refresh the page, it keeps items in the cart. In this course, we used the new hooks introduced in the React 18, including use transition and use deferred value to improve the performance of this application. At the end, we deploy the web application on GitHub and you can share your code with the world. Great, let's review what you will learn in this course. First of all, transforming your theoretical knowledge of React to a practical application like this, using local storage to keep user preference on web page, using array method to filter, reduce, and map items, and deploy your website on GitHub pages. This course is for beginner React developers who knows basic of JavaScript, CSS, and React. Feel free to fork this application and add this app to your portfolio and add new features like backend, search, products variants, and more. Before starting this project, let me introduce myself. I'm Basir and I'm a coding instructor on YouTube and Udemy, and I have 17 years of experience in coding and 7 years of experience in teaching web development. Great, let's get to code. Open your VS Code and from terminal menu, click on new terminal. What we're gonna do here is to create a brand new React application using create React app. First of all, go to your favorite folder. I'm going to go to the desktop folder. Then run npx create-react-app and set the app name to React 18 shopping cart. Press enter. What it does is to create a brand new React application for us using create React app package. Then follow the instruction here, cd React 18 shopping cart, then run npm start to start the application. Great, we successfully created React app and launched the application like this. The next step, go back to VS Code and add the project folder to VS Code. From file menu, click add folder to workspace. Go to desktop, find React 18 shopping cart and click on add. Then click on the Explorer icon. Awesome. Here we have the project folder here. Next step is in the README file. Get rid of all content here and set the title to simple shopping cart. Let's create the lessons heading. And for the first lesson, what I'm gonna do is to create React app using this command and remove extra files. Go to src and select logo, app.test, and app.css. Right click and click on delete. Move to trash. We get this error. Let's fix the error. Go to app.js, get rid of import section, and get rid of the header section here. Save the file. And here we have empty space for our React application. in the README file, save the code, and we are ready for the next lesson. Here is the plan for create website layout lesson. What we're gonna do is to add header, main, and basket components to app.js and style them. Open app.js, get rid of class name app, and let's define the first component that we are going to create. The name of component is header. It's self-closing component, and it's gonna show the header menu for us. The second component is in a div. So create a div. Inside that, define main component. We need to create this component later. Next to the main, I'm going to show basket component. So what I did here is to define three components: header, main, and basket. Save the code to style your code and create all components inside components folder. Go to src, right click, new folder, and set folder name to components. Inside that, let's create the first one, header. Right click, new file, set it to header.js, and here it's time to create the component. Type export default function header. So what I'm gonna do here is to define a simple function and use export default to export this function for app.js. What I'm gonna do inside this is to just return header text. We implement this component later. Save the code, go back to app.js and import header from inside single quote /component/header. So what I did here is to import this component inside components folder like this. Save the code to add semicolon at the end of it and do the same for main and basket. Copy and paste header 2 times. Rename the first one to main.js and second one to basket.js. For main.js, change it to main, and for basket, change it to basket and basket. Go back to app.js, click on main, and press Ctrl space. You will get this recommendation auto import from ./components/main. Click on it to import it. If you don't have this recommendation, just type it manually here. Do the same for basket. Great. Let's check the result. Here I have header and main and basket here. Let's add style to them. For this div, set class name to row. I'm going to create a row class and make it flex to put the main component and basket component in one row. Save it and go to index.css to add style. First of all, set box sizing for all components to border box to fix the issues in adding padding, margin, and border to the elements. Get rid of code style and let's add a class for row. For row, set display to flex and set flex wrap to wrap. So by using this line, we make our website responsive, and for small screen, item stack to the next pages. Also set justify content to space between to put maximum space between elements in a row. Then create 2 new classes. The first class is call1 and set flex bases to 100% and create call2. For this one, also set flex basis to 100%. But what is difference between call 1 and call 2? Call 1 occupy 1 of 3 of the width of the screen, and call 2 occupy 2 of 3 share of the screen. So for larger screen, set media screen to minimum width to 800. Set call 1 flex to 1 and call 2 flex to 2. So this one is for smaller screen. Item is gonna be full width. And this one is for larger screen. Item is gonna be next to each other. Save the code and use call 1 and call 2 in the main and basket. For main, what I'm gonna do is to get rid of main here and create a div, set it to main, and set class name to call 2, and go to basket.js, get rid of basket, create a div, set it to basket, and set class name to call 1. Save the code here, and let's check the result. Here main occupy 2 of 3 and basket occupy 1 of 3 share of the width of the screen. We can right click and click on inspect and click on this icon, device toolbar. As you see, for a smaller screen, they are stacked like this. Great. Let's add some colors. Go back to index.css and create block class. Set a background color for it. Make it BEE8F7. Create a padding for it, 1 rem, and set margin to 0.5 rem. Save the code, and let's use block here in app.js. Go to the header, get rid of header text, create a div. Inside this div, we are going to create 2 child div. For the first child, create anchor, set href to hashtag, create heading 2, and set it to simple shopping cart. Save the code, put slash here to fix the issue, and for the second div, create anchor for cart, another anchor for sign in. Set href to hashtag slash cart and href to hashtag slash sign in. Save the code. As you see, the result is not what we want. What we're gonna do is to put the cart and sign in to the right side of the screen. Let's go for it. Add row class to the class name here. Awesome. As you see, the cart and sign in are in the right, but I'm going to make it center vertically. Go to index.css and right after row, define row.center class and make align item to center. Then go back to header and type center after row. Save the code, and that's it. Let's create a space between cart and sign in. Simply remove extra space and put in a space like this. Save the code. We have a space between cart and sign in. I'm going to get rid of the underline for links in the index.css. At the very top after body, define anchor and set text decoration to none. Save the code. Much better. Let's go for styling main and basket. Go to main.js, add block to the div class, and go to basket and add block to this one too. Great, I created the layout of the website in this lesson. In this lesson, we are going to create main component. We already created this component in component folder, and what I'm gonna do here is to create heading 2 and set the title to products. What we're gonna do here is to list products. So create a div and set class name to row, close it, and inside that render products. Products is coming from the probs. So define probs as a parameter for main function and deconstruct products from it like this. To render products, define curly bracket, type products, and type map function. We are going to map each product to a div. In the map function, we accept product as a parameter, and in the arrow function, define a div, close the div, and inside div, just render product.name. Save the code, and here is the first version of main component. In the next lesson, we convert this div to a product component to render all information about the product. But for this version, I'm going to just render product name in the homepage. Let's check the result. We get empty string, open console, and as you see, we are getting this error. It says cannot read map from undefined because product is undefined. Let's define it. In the src folder, right click new file and set file name to data.js. Then define const data equal to an object, and in this object define products as an array. The first element of this array is an object and it contains product information. Let's set ID of product to 1, name to MacBook, price to 1,400, and image. I'm using image from Pixum. You can enter your image URL that you like. I'm using this one. And do the same for next 2 products. This is the first one. Here is the next product. ID is 2, name is old car, price is 2,400, and image is this address. Let's go for the last one. Awesome. We created the third product. ID is 3, name W shoes, price, and image. At the end, we need to export default data variable so we can have access to data in other files. Let's use it in the app.js, not in the main component, because I'm going to pass the products to main using props. Let's import it like this, and in the app component deconstruct products from data like this, and pass products to the main component. To pass it, type products, put equal sign, and inside curly bracket enter products again. So what we did is to pass the products from data.js to main component as product. So inside the main, when we deconstruct the props and get products, this data is equal to the data that we get from the data.js. Let's test the result. This time it works. We have products and we have the name of products here. If we refresh the page, we are getting another error, and it says each child in a list should have a unique key prop. To fix this issue, just set key equal to product.id. Let's rename it to product, not products, here, and here. Save the code, And let's check the result. Refresh. Aha. As you see, there is no error. Here is about this lesson. In the next lesson, we convert product name to product image, thumbnail, and other information in the product list screen. Let's go for it. In this lesson, we are going to create product component. Let's go to Components folder, right-click, New File, and set file name to product.js. What we're gonna do here is to replace the div with the product component. Let's define the function product. It accepts props, and from props, deconstruct product like this. Then what I'm gonna return is a div, and for the div, set class name to card. We implement this class later. Then the first element in the product component is image. Set class name to small to make it a small. We implement this one later. Set source to product.image and alternative text to product.name. After product image, render product name in H3, heading 3, and after product name, render product price in a div and put a $sign before the product price. The next div is a button. Set it add to cart. Create a button and set caption to add to cart. We implement onClick event for it later. Great. Let's use it inside the main. So replace div with product, press tab to import it. And for the closing tag, replace it with product. We need to pass product object to the product component. So use this code to pass the product from products to the product component. And there is no need to have product.name here. Let's check the result. Awesome. Here I have product image, product name, price isn't here. Let's fix the typo. In the data.js, it's price. This time I have price here. Image is big. Let's fix the issue. Go to index.css and right after anchor, define img.small. It's a class name small for image tag, and set max height to 8 rem and set width to 100%. Save it. Much better. Let's create a card class to make it beautiful. After image, define card.card. Set background color to white. Create a padding and margin. Save it. We wrapped each product in a white box. The last style here is for button. Right after image.small, define a class for button element. Set padding to 3.3 rem. Set border, background color, width, and cursor to pointer. Save it. Much better, huh? Add to cart here. But it doesn't work. For the next lesson, we implement the functionality of add to cart. In this lesson, we are going to implement cart. Let's go to app.js and define a state for cart items. Here, at the beginning of app.js, define cart items and set cart items. Define a state hook using useState, imported from React. Set default value for cart item to empty array, because by default there is no item in the cart. And deconstruct cart items and set cart items to update the cart items. We need to define two functions to update the cart items. The first function is onAdd and second one is onRemove. Let's define them. Right before return, define onAdd function. It accepts a product And what we're gonna do here is to add the product to the cart items. Do the same for onRemove. For onRemove, we get a product and remove that product from the cart. We need to pass onAdd and onRemove to main component. Let's define onAdd equal to onAdd and onRemove equal to onRemove. Why do we pass these methods to main component? Because inside the main component, we need to pass these methods to the product component to handle add item to the cart. So do the same here. Define onAdd and onRemove and deconstruct onAdd and onRemove. So in the product component, we can use onAdd and onRemove. Here, get onAdd and onRemove from props and define onClick handler to onAdd function and pass the product to onAdd. Save the code. So when user click on add to cart, this function handle this click event. What we do is to pass product to onAdd in the parent component of product. Main is the parent component. So onAdd in the parent component of main will handle the click event. What is the parent of main? It's app.js. So here, if I console log onAdd and check the result, open developer tools and click on add to cart. As you see, onAdd in this line handle the onAdd functionality. What we're gonna do here is to add the product to the cart item. Let's implement this feature. Get rid of this line and search cart item to find the product with the product in the parameter of onAdd. So what we're gonna check here is to see if we have this product already in the cart items or not. If we already have this product in the cart item, what we need to do is to change the quantity of this product and increase it by 1. So define a new cart item variable and use map function on cart item to update the quantity of the selected product. So if the product ID is equal to the product in the cart item, what we do is to update the quantity of that product and keep previous properties of that product as it is. If the product does not equal to the item in the cart, keep the product as it is. So what it does is to update the quantity of the product in the parameter of onAdd and don't change other items in the cart items. After calculating the new cart item, we need to use setCartItems and update the cart items by the new value. Save the code and pass the cartItems.length to header. So define count cart items equal to cartItems.length. The reason I'm passing cart items to the header is to show it in the header menu. Let's pass props here and deconstruct count cart items from props and show it inside the cart link. Use conditional rendering. If count cart items isn't 0, then show a button. The caption of button is count cart items and the class name is badge. We implement this later. Otherwise, show empty string. Save the code to format it and define badge class. Go to index.css and here define badge class for button element. Change background color, set border to none, set color to white and width to 1.5 rem. Then go to app.js and implement the else part of exist. If the product does not exist in the cart items, we need to add it to the cart. So in the else part, define new cart item equal to previous cart items on and add the product in onAdd function at the end of the cart items. Then use setCartItems to update the cart items with the new value. Save the code. Let's check the result. Here, click on Add to Cart. As you see, we have a badge here and it shows the items in the cart. Click Add to Cart again, and for this one. So we successfully implemented Add to Cart functionality. Let's implement delete or remove item from the cart. Here is the onRemove. For onRemove, first of all, get the product from the cart items and put it in exist variable. Then we need to check the quantity. If it's equal to 1, we need to remove it. If it's greater than 1, we need to decrease the quantity. So in this case, what I'm gonna do is to use filter method to remove the item in the cart that its ID is equal to the product in the onRemove function. Then update the cart item with the new cart items. In the else part, we need to decrease the quantity. So like what we did in onAdd, I use map function to find the product in the cart item that is equal to the product ID in the onRemove function and decrease the quantity by 1. At the end, update the cart item with the new value. So we need to use onRemove. Let's go to the main component. And here, to use onRemove, we need to pass cart items to main component. So define cart items equal to the cart items in the app.js here. Then go to the main component and pass item to the product component and use the cart items inside the props. It's coming from the app.js to main component. And use find function on cart items. If product exists in the cart item, the item here contains the item in the cart item. Otherwise, item is null. So I can go to the product and use conditional rendering here for item. Item is coming from props. If it does exist, I need to show minus and plus button to decrease and increase item in the cart. Define a div, define minus button, and set onClick to onRemove and pass item as a parameter to onRemove. Set class name to remove. We implement this class later, and the caption is minus. After minus button, show a span, and inside the span display the quantity of this product in the cart. Also set class name to padding 1. The next button is plus button. Set class name to add and onClick to onAdd. For the else part, if product does not exist in the cart item, we need to show this button on add. Save the code to format your code. Go to main.js, save the file, and go to index.css. Define class for button.add. Change background color to this color and width to this. And define button.remove. Save the code. Let's check the result. And define padding 1, set padding to 1 rem. Save the code. Let's check the result. Click on add to cart. As you see, When I add item to the cart, I have one badge in the header, and in the product component, I have minus and plus and number of this product in the cart. Let's click on plus, and it increases the number of this product in the cart. If I click on minus, it decreases, and if it's 1 and click on minus, the item will be removed from the cart. Great. That's it about this lesson. We implemented add to cart and remove from cart functionality in this lesson. For the next lesson, we implement the basket to display items in the cart. In this lesson, we are going to implement basket component. Go to the components folder, open basket.js, and define props as a parameter for basket function. Then deconstruct cart items onAdd and onRemove from props. So in the parent component of basket, we need to pass these variables. Next step is calculating items price. Define items price and use a reduce function on cart items to sum up price multiply by quantity in each item inside the cart. Then define the tax price. I'm using 14% for tax price. You can set it to whatever you like. The next one is shipping price. If items price is greater than 2,000, set shipping price to free. Otherwise, make it $20. At the end, define total price and make it equal to items price plus tax price plus shipping price. In the return section, use a side element instead of div. Use a side because we are going to put sidebar in the right side of the web page. Inside that, get rid of basket and create heading 2, set the title to cart item. Inside that, define a div and use this conditional rendering. If cart item.length is equal to 0, then render this div, cart is empty. Then render cart items using cart items.map function to map each item to a div. Here I define a div, close the div, close opening parentheses, and curly bracket. Save the code. And what I did here is to map each item to a div, set key to get rid of warning for unique key, and set class name to row. I'm going to render a row for each item in the cart items. The first column in the row is item.name. Second one is another div, and inside this div, define minus button. On click, call onRemove and pass item in the array to onRemove function. We already implemented onRemove inside the parent component of basket, which is app.js. Set class name to remove to make it red. Next to the minus button, define plus button and set onClick to onAdd and class name to add. The last column is item.quantity, x icon, and item.price, and use toFix2 to change it to 2 decimal points. Use text right to push this column to the right. Go to index.css at the very end, define text right and make it text align to right. Go back to basket, and after rendering list of items, use conditional rendering. If cart items.length doesn't equal to 0, we need to render the summary part. Define an empty container, close the opening parentheses and curly bracket, define HR, then define horizontal line and create a div, set class name to row. First column is items price. Use call2 to put more space to items price. And for items price, use items price.toFixed2. We already calculated items price in this line. Make it text right, save the code, and here is the first row for summary part, items price. Do the same for tax price. After this, define tax price, create a div with class name row, and show tax price, use toFixed function. The next one is shipping price, and the last one is total price, this one. At the end, define another horizontal line, define a row, and define checkout button. For onClick, just alert implement checkout. We don't implement this feature in this course. Save it, go back to app.js, find the basket, and pass cart items on add on remove to basket. Copy this, paste it here. Let's check the result. Cart is empty. Click on add to cart. Awesome. I have cart items. The selected item, the product that I added to the cart is MacBook. I have minus and plus button. They work. And here I have the summary, items price, tax price, shipping price, and total price is bold. Because inside the basket at the very end, for total price, I wrapped them inside a string to make it bold. If I click on checkout, I just get this alert. Good, we successfully implemented basket component to show the cart items. In this lesson, we are going to implement saving cart items inside local storage. If I refresh the page, all items in the cart will be removed. I'm going to keep them when I refresh the page and make sure that it exists throughout browsing the website. To implement this feature, go to app.js, scroll up, find onAdd. When I add an item to the cart, after setting cart items in the state, I'm going to use local storage and call setItem on local storage. SetItem accepts two parameters, the key and the value. The key is cart items and the value is new cart items, but items in the local storage should be converted to a string. So I'm using JSON.stringify to convert this array to a string and save it in the local storage in the user cookies. Copy this and use it right after set cart items for onAdd, here for onRemove, and here for onRemove. So far, I save cart items in the local storage, but I need a way to load them from the local storage too. To do that, I'm going to use useEffect. Right before return, define useEffect function like this. UseEffect is a hook from React, control space, and import useEffect from React. Here, what it does is to run this function after loading component. So whatever I write here will be run, call set cart items, and what is the value? It's coming from local storage. Let's get the cart items from local storage using getItem function. If it does exist, use json.parse to convert this string to a JavaScript array. Otherwise, use empty array. Save the code, and here is the code to load cart items from local storage on page load. Let's check the result. Add to cart and refresh. Awesome. We have the cart items MacBook even after refreshing the page. If I change them like this and refresh, it keeps the items in the cart. That's it about saving items in the local storage. The last part of this course is about using React 18 features in our project. I'm going to use two popular hooks in React 18. They are use transition and use deferred value. For use transition, I'm going to read items in the local storage using use transition because I'm not going to block the component while I'm reading from the local storage. To use transition hook, define it like this: use transition and get isPending and start transition. Control space to import use transition from React. When start transition is in progress, isPending is true, and when it's done, isPending is false. Let's use it here in the return. Check isPending. If it is true, show a loading box. Define a div and show a loading box. Otherwise, render the component like as it is. Save it. And here is using isPending. We need to use a start transition. Where do I want to use it? In the use effect for set cart items. Define start transition, pass a function as a parameter, and move this code inside this function and save it. This code has low priority in rendering compared to other code like handling key events or mouse move. Let's check the result. When we refresh, we see loading for less than a second, and after getting data from local storage, the page will be rendered. Let's use the second hook from React 18. It's use deferred value. After the use effect, define use deferred value hook, import it from React here. And what I'm going to do here is to calculate cart items and put it inside the cart items count variable. The reason that I'm using use deferred value is that showing this value doesn't have high priority. So I'm going to defer rendering this value. Copy this and pass it to the header as a property. Save the code. And when I refresh the page, I can see the deferred value here, and it works. Great, that's it about this lesson. What we did is to implement a simple shopping cart using latest features of React. Until next course, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to deploy our website on GitHub using GitHub Pages. Let's log in to your GitHub account and push code to GitHub. To create a GitHub account, you just go to github.com and create account. I already created my account and logged in to my GitHub. The next step is pushing the code to GitHub. Click on source control, enter a message, it's first commit. Click on commit and click on publish branch. By clicking on publish branch, I'm getting this modal. I have two options to publish my code to GitHub, to private repository or public. And here is the name of my repository on the GitHub. I select the public repository. If it's the first time that you are using publish branch, you may need to log in to your GitHub from VS Code and then come back here to get this option. Click on publish to public repository and it's uploading files. Then you will get this message. Click on open on GitHub. We successfully published our code on GitHub. But what we want is to publish our final website on GitHub, not the source code. Let's go for this step. We need to install gh-pages as a save dependency, open a new terminal, and npm install gh-pages. Great. Next step, add this line of code to package.json. Open package.json. After version, add this and change GitHub name to your name on GitHub. Here is my name on GitHub, and web app name to the name of the app or the repository, like this. Great. So here is the change. The next change is adding deployment script, pre-deploy and deploy. Copy this, go to the script section, and at the beginning, paste this code and save it. For pre-deploy, it just build the project, and for deploy, it calls gh-pages to publish your code on GitHub pages. Save the code, and we are ready to deploy the website. We can run npm run deploy. Let's do it. In the terminal, run npm run deploy. It just create an optimized production build for us, and then it calls gh-pages-build to deploy and upload our code on GitHub. Great. It says published, and we are ready to run the application. Copy this in the home page, open a new tab, and run it. First of all, you will get 404 error. That's okay. You need to wait for 5 minutes to apply the changes. In the meantime, publish the code. Here we have 2 changes in the package.json. So what I'm gonna do is to put a message, add homepage, commit, and click here to publish your code on GitHub. And try again. Awesome. React app is ready here. Clear the cookie and refresh. Awesome. Cart is empty, and click on add to cart, and it works. Good. We successfully published our code on GitHub pages.